In this video, we will address some of the saturation and processing problems associated with fatty acids. Since foods have a mix of different types of fats, can we tell just by looking at the food if it contains mostly saturated or mostly unsaturated fatty acids? After all, we know that saturated fats are notoriously unhealthy and unsaturated fats are healthy. It'd be nice to be able to see that difference. The short answer is yes. The more solid a food is at room temperature, the more saturated fat it likely contains. But while the more saturated fat is not healthy, it is more stable, as we mentioned previously. The points of unsaturation are highly susceptible to oxidation and spoiling faster. To combat this problem of instability, manufacturers will use several methods to protect those points of unsaturation so their oils will stay fresh longer. The first is packing in airtight containers. They also use antioxidants to protect the points of unsaturation from being oxidized. The final way manufacturers use to make their fats more shelf-stable is by hydrogenating them. If the points of unsaturation are the unstable part, then adding hydrogens to those points to saturate it will solve the problem. It does just that. It does prevent those points from being oxidized, but remember what we said about saturated fats? They are also more solid at room temperature. So manufacturers cannot completely hydrogenate the oils. Instead, they partially hydrogenate the polyunsaturated oils, resulting in a fat that is not solid but not liquid. It is a creamy in-between product. The term partial hydrogenation is likely a term you have heard before, but it should come with a negative connotation because the process of partially hydrogenating has a very, very bad side effect. It creates trans fatty acids. Looking at the picture on this slide, we see on the left that normally at a point of unsaturation, the hydrogens are in a cis configuration where they are both in the upwards position. However, with partial hydrogenation, the points that are not saturated flip the hydrogens into a trans configuration. Who would ever have thought that one simple little flip like that could create such a huge change in health risk? We know these trans fatty acids are the worst type of fat, increasing risk of heart disease and certain types of cancer. Students often confuse saturated with trans fats because they're both considered unhealthy. Saturated fats are completely hydrogenated and solid at room temperature, largely found in animal source foods. Trans fatty acids started as polyunsaturated oils that were processed with partial hydrogenation to make it more saturated, but not completely saturated. They are largely found in processed fats like shortening or stick margarine. Currently, trans fats are being eliminated from foods in the U.S. Manufacturers are changing their processing techniques to prevent trans fats from forming.